Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Where we'll go this morning, let's go back to the whole, question of restructuring. You've seen it already. Vice President Osinbajo, as it were, sort of reignited the conversation. It's always been there. It's an on and off sort of a thing. But then the Vice President, very recently, was delivering a lecture at the 40th, annual lecture series of Association of Friends. Those in Lagos know their facility. They're, somewhere in Maryland there. It's up there. So just in case you didn't know it was that important, well, Vice President Osinbajo, clearly he is one of their friends. They had invited him, and he had delivered this lecture. And it was restructuring the Nigerian Federation. As you know, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is also an advocate of restructuring. That has drawn many commentaries, but let's stay with the current Vice President Osinbajo here, who has sort of clarified that not geographical restructuring, or not in favor of that, whatever that means, because that is simply going to raise administrative costs, and it'll just make everything a lot more complex and all of that. But he is in support of state police. The highlights of this, as you know already, is that the Vice President had opined that you can't police this kind of a country from the center, from Abuja. Now, that's fine to one side, but most of us might recall that, oh dear, doesn't this sort of contradict ever so slightly, maybe even just straightforwardly, the position of Mr. President, PMB, because he is not a known fan of state police. We'll look at it and other aspects in the Vice President's speech, because it's one of those perennial conversations that keep on coming on and off. And Mr. Ademola Adegoke, communications expert, is here. You've also heard this. I know, like most Nigerians, you're probably interested in where this whole question of restructuring will resolve itself to. The Vice President Osinbajo had said that the fiscal aspect of it, fiscal federalism, is very, very important, and he's a clean advocate of that. First of all, the seeming, I don't know if I should go as far as saying contradiction, but the two positions, let me put it that way, the two positions, that of the President and that of the Vice President. Give me your understanding.
Well, probably we need to situate the Vice President's position within its proper perspective. It was, like you said, it was speaking as a guest of Association of Friends during their 40th anniversary.
A private function that politicians often use.
And he now talked about his position on creation of state police. That having state police is in tandem with federalism, with true federalism. And he now said that he has always been an advocate, but that he is not, by saying he stands for creation of state police and restructuring.
Fiscal federalism.
Fiscal federalism. He felt that what the country actually needs is good governance and not geographical restructuring. That is what he said. So, but now let's look at the aspect of creation of state police from his.
Could I please, stop you there, and let's come on and continue this conversation. But our other guest is now in the house. Ahmed Dada Baz. He was supposed to be on this set as well, and he's in the house now. So we'll take a quick, very, very quick break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, please. welcome back. So sorry for that slight delay. Ahmed Dada Abbas is now on set. Thank you very much for coming. He's a legal practitioner and political affairs analyst.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you as always. And he's joining, as you know already, Mr. Ademola Adegoke, who is a communications expert. And we're talking about the Vice President's 40th anniversary lecture speech of the Association of Friends, wherein he sort of reiterated his support for
fiscal federalism,
yes.
Creation of state police.
Exactly. And his belief that we're not talking about geographical federalism. That one, I'm not in support of that. It's only going to cost us more.
Geographical restructuring.
Yes. Did I say geographical?
Federalism. You said
you know, geographical restructuring. So please continue. You were making the point because the Vice President, as you know, had said that his belief is that if you have more autonomous states, you can virtually eradicate poverty. Examine that.
Yeah, it said that. I want to, like I was trying to do, to situate its position within its proper perspective. And I want to liken the situation, I mean, its position, or any discussion on restructuring and whatever arises out of it with what you have in the university education curriculum. You know, where a course in the lower level is a prerequisite for a similar course or an advanced version of the course in a higher level. For example, if you are in post-science department, you are supposed to have maybe post-science 102. And if you don't pass post-science 102, you don't go to post-science 202. Even if you go to post-science 202, they say you should carry over post-science 101. Whatever discussion that we will be making, that we will be having on state police, fiscal federalism and all that, without
state creation,
without recourse to true federalism, perhaps it's an exercise in futility.
Okay, we're going to, I know there's a lot more and we have the time. Ahmed Dada Abbas, this is a topic that I know you can be passionate about from previous conversations on it. First of all, you have stronger states, you can eradicate poverty. Combine that with the whole principle of fiscal federalism. What do you think of this reiteration of the conversation?
You see, the essence of governance has been defined principally as the security and the welfare of the people. At every given point in time, the rhetorics emanating from Statistics Bureau, Federal Ministry of Education, Finance, Economic Development, they reel out all the achievements and all the rest of them. The professors of economics will tell us how our GDP is growing, how we are developing, how we are advancing. In my own layman's understanding, if the Nigerian on the street, the mechanic and the organizer cannot actually say that their life has been impacted by an administration in a given year, it's a waste of their time and a waste of the resources entrusted to the leaders. Even if you have restructuring today, for me, I believe so much in restructuring because there is a convergence of opinion. There's an agreement that in the First Republic, between 1960 and 66, there was competition between the regions for development. University of Ibadan came, and the Eastern region felt we can't be left out. University of Nigeria came. And the Northerners believe, we cannot be left out in the race towards education. ABU came. So there was a healthy competition. Looking at the other region, what are you people doing? If we had followed that trajectory, we won't be where we are today. That's the honest truth. And don't forget that whatever be the structure that was on ground was actually mutually negotiated over a long period of time. It wasn't an accidental structure. That's right. It was a structure that was negotiated by our founding fathers because they interrogated our differences.
And things were done differently in those times.
They understood our differences. At a point in time, we are students of history. We learned that as far back as 1957, Antonio Nahoro was moving a motion for independence. And some people said, well, we do not think we have the requisite manpower that will take charge of our local ministries and all the rest of them. We are not ready. And one said, well, we can go alone. One said, no, let's wait until we are all ready. It was negotiated. The military came. Look, if you are driving a car and along the road you get to a junction, you want to turn left. You accidentally turn right. What does common sense demand? If you discover that you're on a wrong route, common sense demands that you should come back to the junction. If you are flying an aircraft and the aircraft is malfunctioning, there is nothing sacrosanct about saying the destination has been set. Common sense demands you disembark. I mean, fly down to the nearest airport, fix the fault, and go. There is an agreement that the structure called Nigeria, there's fault. It is faulty. We will be engaging in intellectual deceit. For you to think that a competent driver can drive a faulty car and have a hitch-free trip. If the engine is faulty, the tires are bad, the battery is malfunctioning, you don't have headlamp, even if you train the driver in the best driving institutions in the whole world and bring him to drive a car that is faulty, the journey can never be smooth.
Do you think these are some of the things that the Vice President is pointing out, albeit embedded in the speech? For instance, he said that you cannot police Nigeria from the center. I therefore support, state police. And you can see, never mind that core idea, it's reflective of other things about our complexity.
Yes, because you say a governor is the chief executive officer of a state. I do not know how you give a man the power to execute a law and does not have the power to enforce that execution in case there's a violation. You can't say, okay, I'm making a law for traffic regulation, for example, that you can't pass one way. And I do not have the power when I see people passing one way. I give instruction to the law enforcement officer. He tells me he wants to seek the consent of his boss from Abuja before enforcing that law. Meanwhile, I made the law in Lagos State. I made the law in Ogun State, but I don't have the power to enforce it. Because if you have a federal government controlling the police that is not on the same page with the state governor, they can actually force. I mean, we have recent history. River State, when Amici was there, the commissioner was literally like a rival to him there. It's a distorted federalism. It's a distorted. We must go back to the root. Okay. It's all military incursion for purpose of what do you say? Having control over more resources that they can dispense.
Ademola, all of this, indeed, as he said, it's very well known out there. There are a lot of people who subscribe to this particular viewpoint. But there are also those who say, look, restructuring is overrated. People call in and say to us that, look, you might think we have all the problems that we have now, such as Ahmed has, enumerated. But people think that the will to do the right thing is not there, that even with the unsatisfactory arrangement that we have, if only there was sincerity of purpose, if only there was transparency, if only there was openness, etc., etc. In other words, if there was the real intent to get on with the job in a fair, equitable way, then the noise, as they would see it, that is being made on restructuring, would probably not be there. First of all, what do you think about that whole idea that we could make much, much better use of what we have, including the faulty constitution? We could make much, much better use of what we do have than is presently the case. We're all waiting for it to be also perfect, crossed T's, dotted I's, before we say, yes, now we can roll with this.
I'm reminded of the submission by a man called Alexander Pope. And he says, for forms of government, let fools contest. Whatever is best administered is best. Whatever is best administered is best. So what that means is that whatever system you evolve, if the willpower to administer it the best way it is done, you always, you always have the kind of situation that we have found ourselves in. You ask the question, does a stronger state or stronger states do stronger states make, or eradicate, will it eradicate?
It was an observation of the vice president that he thinks that stronger states will eradicate
poverty. Yes and no. Yes, if we have a total culture change. Without a total culture change, even if you empower the states,
and you know that is asking for too much, just by the way.
Because
we're dealing with human beings.
Even if you empower
who don't like to change.
Empower the present state structure 10 times over, and we still go with the current mindset of winner takes all, of the rulers playing Lord of the Manor, over the ruled, we always have the situation we have on our hands presently. So, yes, a stronger state will, stronger states will translate into eradication of poverty if and only if, you understand, we, do a total turnaround.
And we have leaders, governors who are servants, who want to serve.
Servant leaders.
The concept of leaders. That whole concept that has been parodied into all sorts of things. Looking at it strictly now, that whole concept,
so that is
which is very, very rare in our climate, I might suggest.
And if you allow me, let's also situate our discussion within the context of the VP's position, creation of state police. It's not policing alone that eradicates crime. It's not policing alone. That, yes, policing only complements, modern society does not rely on policing alone. How much of poverty eradication does the system have, or does the system have embedded within it? If you continue to breed poverty the way we breed poverty in this country, if, the level of illiteracy continues to soar the way it is soaring, in our land, if, we are churning out graduates that we cannot provide jobs for, police everywhere, there will always be crime.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, he floated this whole idea about one of the main planks of my campaign is going to be restructuring. I will fix it. I will fix this whole problem. You've been waiting for it for a long time. You guys elect me, and that will be, it will be a done deal. So then that's when we began to hear that, come on, I've been advocating this for ages. Don't come and try and hijack the concept. So that's where we are now. But what do you think about the subtle noises being made that is the vice president is his position at variance with that of his principal, who has not been known to favor state police?
Well, I think from the conversation so far, the president has been silent as to state police. I think they are, maybe I don't know whether they are scared about use of police by governors and all the rest of them, and they felt maybe we are not matured for state police and all the rest of them. For me as a person, this is what is the crux of our problem. He said something about cultural change.
Yes.
Look,
yes.
It's either we appeal to our leaders to have self-imposed discipline to do what is right, or we strengthen our institutions, to ensure that when our leaders go astray, there's a penalty. Human beings everywhere are the same.
Yes.
In America, they are the same. There's no difference between an American man and a Nigerian man. The only difference is that they've been able to strengthen their institution in such a way that nobody is above the law. That if there is an infraction, there will be a penalty until until we get to that point where our institutions know what they are set up to do. Sir, the present police structure, I can tell you categorically that if you allow an average policeman to do his job, they know what to do.
Okay, one moment, please. Ayola in Abuja, good morning and thank you for calling in. Ayola, are you there? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ayola. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, I just want to make a contribution.
Sure.
Regarding this, yes, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Okay, I just want to make a contribution. My contribution is that, look, if you are talking about, you know, all the topic you are talking about, the basic something there is that you need to have a stronger state. And how do you get a stronger state? It is by empowering that state. That is resource control. When a state is empowered with funds, definitely it has a lot to do. But when a state is not strong financially and is relying on the center, there is nothing substance that can come out of it. So also, you talk about police.
How about leadership? How about leadership? You're talking about finance and strengthening states financially. How about leadership?
Like you talk about implementation of policy. You state make a policy, and somebody.
It's like
Yes. Of course, leader is already there, because when you look at what is happening now, you find that the state governor is the leader. The only thing is constraining his strength is the fund. He has the fund, you find out that he can do a lot. But when there is no fund, he will just be doing whatever he can do because he relied on the center.
All right then. Thank you very much for calling in, sir. Really appreciate your calling in.
Can I just debunk that? It's not the amount of resources you have in the hand of a state that equals development, no good governance. No good governance. As student of Nigerian history, there was agitation for Ompadek, Osopadek, all manner of Opadek that has come into existence. Yet, as of today, the South-South remains one of the least developed centers of the world.
That's right.
In spite of the humongous resources that they've gotten through NDDC, Ministry of Niger Delta, Ompadek, Osopadek, and all the rest of them. It's not our clarion call. It's not about more resources. No, not just more resources, but ethical leaders. Strengthening our institutions to ensure that when you steal public funds, you go to jail. So long as those institutions are so weak, believe me honestly, even if you empower the state with trillions of naira, that leaders have the right and liberty to loot without questioning, poverty will still be the identity of vast majority of our people.
Indeed, because to come back to Yanimola, part of the problem, he just said it, in different countries all over the place. No, every country has its problem, but there are countries where the whole doctrine of nobody is above the law is sacrosanct, and you infringe on that principle, at your own peril. But here, and in those kind of societies, it's a very, very grievous offense if you are caught evading tax, not paying your tax. It doesn't matter how famous you were, you will be brought to the ground. So
stealing public funds.
You'll be stripped of everything. You see, talking about this cultural difference that we need, I don't know that we are ready to go as far as that yet. In fact, we hear oftentimes that those that can afford to pay actually pay the least. It is the rest of us that are barely managing that, everybody is opening eye for. Say, are you paying your tax? So you see, these things are sort of, it goes back to this point we're making about put all the things that you need for good governance. For all of this on the ground, if the attitude of the people is not going to change, if you want, call it the cultural attitude, if it's not going to change, we just, it's a lot of motion without any movement.
Yeah.
And that won't happen overnight.
Yes. I'm reminded again of the saying of another man, of another global personality of blessed memory, Mahatma Karachman Gandhi, one of the founders of the modern Indian nation. And he said, the world has enough for the need of everyone, but it will never have enough for the greed of everyone.
Yes.
It will never have enough.
And that's the challenge.
And so that is the challenge that we have. This country is blessed enough.
It means we have to have the institutions, first of all, to enforce the dictum you have just espoused.
So, you know, I said it, that for forms of government, according to Alexander Pope, let fools contest. Whatever is best administered is best. So we can be talking of state police, the restructuring, fiscal federalism, and the rest of them. Yes, this is not to say that one is against that position. I am a federalist.
Okay, but I've got to go on a quick break. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, please. Okay, welcome back, and we're having this conversation on, you know, the whole concept of restructuring in Nigeria. It seems that we don't mind restructuring as long as it is going to be painless. But the fact I think that most thinking people will appreciate is that there will be no such monumental change in our affairs without concomitant pain. It's just not going to happen. Now, it might well be that people don't say those kind of things up front so as not to discourage the whole, but that is the truth that we have here, that I think they are going to have to grapple with if we're going to bring this to fruition. Is Nigeria ready for the pain that it would cause, that the pain that good governance, selfless leadership, etc., that it would cost, but we will pay that price because we want a better society?
I don't think we as a people are ready to appreciate to appreciate and assimilate the fact that the joy of...
Oh, I beg your pardon. You know, somebody was on the phone all the time we were on break waiting.
Okay.
So, Mr. George, I thank you very much, and good morning, sir.
Hello, Uncle Eric. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you very much for holding on all that while.
All right, no problem.
Please go ahead.
Good morning to your guest.
Indeed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Uncle Eric, the Vice President should not allow Atiku to drag him into a failed argument. The ineffectiveness of the Nigerian police is not as a result of the structure. It has to do with their orientation. The way they are now, even if you split them into 20 units and make every community to have its own police, the ineffectiveness will still be there. So police need reorientation, not giving a space to the for governors to command the police. We will just be creating a state of anarchy. Imagine a governor, for example, now, who is trying to install a successor of his choice. And he would do everything possible to ensure that who he wants is the one that is there at the detriment of peace and stability of that state. We can see them. So we don't have the kind of matured governance that can manage state police. So I do not agree with the Vice President on that one.
If, Mr. George, we don't have the kind of matured police that could, bring about the idea you're talking about, do we have the matured population from which to select the police? Since you can't go anywhere else to go and recruit for police.
The population figure is not enough, it's not a yardstick for the majority. It is about the management, those who are managing. Do they have the maturity of mind to manage security at state level? I can tell you, Uncle Yori, that we will regret it if we go into it.
All right, I think we should leave it there. Thank you very much. I think we should just leave it there, but I thank you very much for your contribution that it's not a concept that Mr. George, for one, would buy. But I think I interrupted you.
Yeah. We were looking at the question.
And he thinks the Vice President is being dragged into, quote-unquote, a stale argument because of Atiku, former Vice President Atiku.
Before the phone call, we were looking at the question of are the Nigerian people ready, to bear the pain,
the sacrifice
that we can before the Eldorado, so to speak.
We'll have a nicely ticking over engine.
You see, the thing is, in life generally, the joy of the birth of a new baby has to be preceded by the travail of labor. I mean, it's a given, No woman celebrates the birth of a new baby without first going into labor. But the Nigerian populace, we just want to have a new baby without, going into, and even before labor, the inconvenience of having the pregnancy, the gestation period of 9 months and all that. So we are not ready for that. And as long as we are not ready, we will just, moving
because there will be pushbacks. As we are doing all these things, there will be pushbacks.
In a circle.
Rent seekers, for example, and there's so many different categories, are not going to be enamored of such ideas because the pain of, you mean this free monthly thing? Because everything is now so-called being done properly. You mean I'm going to lose out on 7 million naira a month? Oh no, this is not going to. This is not going to fly. We can't allow this to fly. I just made that up, for example, as a sort of a general principle of some of the problems that we might possibly be facing if I'm not overstating it.
You see, the challenge of Nigeria is that when you run a society and a system where you constantly need to be connected to the political structure to get anything, you need a passport. You need to be politically connected.
Yes.
You need to clear your goods. Even when your papers are intact, you need to be politically connected for it not to enter demurrage or for the custom officers not to extort so much bribery. You want your child to be admitted into a unity school, even when the child is very brilliant. You also need to be politically connected in order to ensure that even if she passes, her name is not removed from the list.
This is the culture that we're talking about.
So what happened is that you create a culture of short corner, cutting corners, and those guys who are beneficiaries of cutting corners get into the corridors of power as ministers and commissioners. They are already ingrained with this mindset of we can always cut corners. A society where you want to employ people, you do not throw the advert out for the most competent Nigerians to apply. You simply call one man and say, give me your list.
It happens everywhere.
If you are recruiting customs, you are recruiting immigrations. In Nigeria today, there are special lists, guys that will not sit for exam and will not attend interview. They'll get their uniform and they become officers.
So this is the kind of society we're living in.
So when you have that kind of man employed into the service without sitting for examination, without interview, becoming the Controller General of Customs and Immigration.
Just example, Anshio.
Example, I'm just talking of example in the society. He has special lists. There's a presidential list, there is a ministerial list, and there are vast majority of, when people have gone through this cutting corner syndrome, it becomes a lifestyle.
Let me see what Reverend Dominic has to say about this, because he's waiting to join the conversation. Good morning, Dominic.
Good morning, Yore. I wish you can oblige me some few seconds.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yore, let me say this before so that Nigeria will listen to me. I believe in restructuring. Yore. But Yore, please, a journalist, go and do investigative journalism. In the old Imo, which was governed by Chief Honor Lakambakwe in 80s, that state today has divided into three: the Ebonyi state, the Abia state, and the Federal Imo state. What that man did in that state in those days is still what we're enjoying today in this state. He built an airport then. There was no restructure. He built an airport. And I was in secondary school then. There was no money from federal government. He paid the indigenous. I contributed 1 naira, my pocket money, to build Imo Airport. He built a university. That university is enjoyed by 3 states today. Ebonyi State University, Imo State University, Abia State University was built by Osinbajo. This state today are governed by 3 governors. Nothing is on the ground since over 30 years. Is it restructuring? If we don't restructure the mind of these people, we cannot get anything after restructuring. Let me say this. If you give Governor Kocha police to handle today, I representatively could not go to Imo State again. But they have marked me bad already because I criticize his government. If you give such a man police command, will we also live in Imo State? That is by the way. Please, I want all Nigerians to ask Atiku Abubakar, what kind of structure would he implement when he comes to power? Is he the one that will take oil money from the northern state and give to the Niger Delta? Or is he the one that will make a girl in Zamfara State who will have 5 months in Federal Government College? And the girl in Imo will have 15 months. The girl in Imo will not get to Federal College, but the girl in Zamfara will get to Federal College. Which of the structure? Who is pulling who? Abubakar has no power to structure Nigeria.
Okay.
And what is problem is for the structure? We must structure our mind. People who govern us has no good mind. Governance has to go with morality to produce results. No matter what you write in paper, there's nothing you get out of the people who govern today. We need the research of the mind and good governance.
All right, then.
Be better.
Thank you very much.
Let me conclude.
Introducing mental restructuring also being required.
Let me conclude my decision. Sure. The vice president, a lady works with the vice president. She came to speak on an occasion. She said 90% or 95% of the people who come to the vice president's office come for personal.
Yeah.
They are not coming to give ideas as to how Nigeria can.
No.
You see,
they want to work the fact that they know him personally.
Until we have a director in the Ministry of Works, Lands, who wakes up in the morning and say, God, as I am going to this office, every Nigerian that come to seek services from my office, may I have the capacity to do service in such a way, give them service, render service in such a way that they will go back happy. Until we have a custom officer that will wake up in the morning and say, God, I am in the business of rendering service to Nigerians. Give me the enablement, the wisdom, and the strength to ensure that all Nigerians that approach me today empower me to make them happy. Until we have somebody in the Ministry of Lands who issues CFO, who prays in the morning and say, God, as people come to apply for their CFO, empower me to make them happier. Until we have people in offices like that who knows that they are rendering service to Nigerians, and that Nigerians, as recipients of the service they are rendering, are the ultimate judge. You can never, steer away from this trajectory of pains and agony.
Well, yeah.
Because if Nigerians come to public service for one service or the other, and they go back frustrated, annoyed, and bitter, we'll still be where we are today. So the mindset is that I'm rendering service to Nigerians, and when they approach my office, may I have the capacity to take away the pains they come into my office.
In other words, to be fair, to just be fair, and that is not. Yakub, thank you for holding on. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Once again, God bless you. Good morning to your guest, Chizori. And then, Chizori, let me begin by saying that I support restructuring. And then, but for me, we have not matured politically to have a state police. But I support restructuring.
Which restructuring?
The part of
financial, federal, fiscal federalism.
Let me give you a typical example. When they are starting their constitution amendment, when those people that we claim that we voted for to go and representing us, they get to devolution of power. What they do is that they united politically and fought it down. Because especially we are by Lagos State as a whole, economics in Lagos State is very buoyant enough to generate light and distribute electricity to the citizens of Lagos. And then so that we can have 24 hours power stable in this state. But what they do is that they filtered down that devolution of power, all because some of the people in that hollow chamber or lower chamber, as case may be, they benefit from the structure we have already. But when we are talking about state police, if we can be able to mature politically, look at what civilian JTF is doing in the North area. Because the civilian JTF, they really help our military in that area. Because they know the crown of the state. They know who the criminals are. But politically, if you or else want to fool ourselves, if we dare give state police to this kind of governor that we have, for now, if the opposition, the enemy, the opposition of the governor, they will never be able to put free. As the last caller said, Mr. Pastor Dominic, because our governor, we are not matured enough. They were not paid the salary of 20,000 to 18,000 naira minimum wage. Not that the labor is asking for 30,000 naira. They are not yet ready to pay. If you're not giving them state police, how are they going to pay? If they don't pay, those people will not come to us. As a civilian, they will use the God given to them. So use it against civilians because the governor of state, they are not paying them.
Yes.
We are not buoyant enough to have state police. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Let me come back to you, Ademola. This whole debate that is developing, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, he sort of started it latterly after the conversation had been on ground for a while. I don't know how far or how useful it is going to be and in the lead up to the election. And really what I'm meaning is how much attention Nigerians should pay to it, because we know here that there's so many distortions that we're not about to fix, because first of all, we're not going to be open about those distortions. Everybody knows the distortions, but I don't think anybody is ready for, put them all on the table, let's all sit around the table and know that you know, this, this. We're not about to go there. So a lot of energy, maybe almost even hot air, is going to be expended on this. And it's a concept that you are explaining to us the difficulty of it, of it working, because the most important thing is the mind. The mind is not going to change. My sense of privilege, you can't come and interfere with that and be calling it restructuring. Yeah. Whatever that privilege is, the lady who come from the vice president's office and says 95% of the people come looking for favors, that's what we have. Are we ready to bite the bullet and say, none of that rubbish anymore?
You see, before I stopped, I was stating the fact of my being a federalist. I believe in a true federal structure for the country.
Yes.
So that there can be healthy rivalry among the component units.
Like they have in America, for example.
Yes.
Because so that's a classic example.
In Nigeria,
sometimes when they need it, the state will come in. If it is police, they will send the federal.
He cited the example. I am a federalist. You know, I believe that I believe in true federalism.
But
so that
is there a but?
There is. But the fact is that even if we restructure 100 times over, and we continue to wear the kind of mindset, the kind to go by with
we don't
the kind
change
of,
that.
You know, the kind of psyche that we have.
Thank you. I like the words you're using.
We have presently.
Our psyche is allowed to continue running all over the place, doing precisely what it has been doing from the day we were born.
So look, you see, for example, the argument about state police is a very good one.
Let me come back to you and hear about it, because Mazi Okorafo is waiting in Arochukwu to join the conversation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Honestly speaking, Sayori, is there any country that don't have state police? It's just that our problem we have here is we abuse certain privileges, we abuse certain rights. Because when you talk about state police, people will say about state police, it's not that because the governors will use it as a weapon of mass destruction against their opponents. That's why people are glad that they don't want state police. But to me, there is need for state police. If they don't want, they have what they call PCRC squad in all the local governments. Let them revive it to have a human face. Now, restructuring, look, There is need for restructuring. What do I mean by need for restructuring? Now you ask yourself, Mr. Yori, abandoned property in Rivers State, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, name them. We have property in 102 White House Street, Calabar, my father's property. What is happening today? We have not even entered that land since after the Civil War up to today. We don't have access. So that is why there is need for restructuring. You ask yourself, if oil is to be in the middle belt here, we wouldn't actually have to go for restructuring because oil is coming that nobody's talking about here. If we want, let us restructure. When we restructure, we know exactly how we are going to group ourselves until we move forward. Because to me, I don't believe all these politicians who come now with the quoted issue that said restructure is that is what they are just, that one's political tips. I want them to listen to monitor what Trump is doing. Trump had what they call the roadmap. And the roadmap Trump gave to America. And that's what Trump is showing up to today. No matter whatever you talk about, even Trump, if you want CNN, Trump has said they are not in good terms. Right from the first day Trump started campaign. What is happening? It's still going. And Trump is still moving. And CNN is still up to today, still blackberry Trump up to. Trump is something that Trump is going because he's following his roadmap. Whatever you like to say, it doesn't concern. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Indeed, thank you very much. The focus, he related to the fact that, look, if you can focus, as he said, that example about Trump, both of them are focused. CNN in this particular example is focused on hammering Trump. Trump is focused on rendering them as fake news organization. And I think the latest in the saga was that withdrawing the White House pass of a CNN journalist. Revoking his access. Yes, please. Maybe you want to quickly.
We cannot say because cars have accidents on roads, and therefore we said all cars must leave the road. We're no longer going to use car. Human beings, no more
trouble by air.
Human beings, because there are crashes. Life is a continuum. Development is in stages and in processes. That's why societies they invest so much in research and development. Why do you invest in research and development? You're simply looking for solutions to problems. Until we have that understanding that, look, life will constantly throw challenges. For any new idea, there will be challenges. 1961, J.F. Kennedy, when they were trying to get to the moon, called the American nation and said, look, if we are indeed a great nation, land a man on the moon and bring him back safely to Earth. They sat down, a committee was constituted. What are the obstacles we need to overcome to land a man on the moon and bring the man back safely to Earth? They discovered they had 18 obstacles. They went in search of the best brain in those areas, traversing legislation, medicine, physiotherapy, finance.
Federal character was not involved.
No.
They were just looking for the most competent, the best.
Yes.
They didn't bring in the principle of federal character.
They assembled the best.
They were all Americans.
They assembled the best brain and said, the president said, we should land the man on the moon and bring the man back safely to Earth. Worked tirelessly 8 years down the line. They succeeded in landing a man on the moon. He set the agenda. Look for the human capital. There is no problem in Nigeria that we do not have the human capital to resolve. It is just the sincerity of our leaders.
Of our leaders.
The African...
sorry, sir. Mr. Jibodu in Ikotun, quickly, please. We've almost run out of time.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I have been listening to your program, and I can say that I find it very interesting.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
I heard you, sir. Thank you, sir. Please continue.
I said I've been listening to your program, and I find it very interesting when people call in and say what Nigeria needs is restructuring of the mind.
Please continue, sir.
So, how can we restructure our mind if we don't find ourselves in a situation that we need to abide in? First and foremost, how did we get to this point? It means when the forefathers of this country had their plan, they kept us, or they gave us something that made our minds and our thinking to follow their trend. It means you set a pace and then people key in. Started getting to this mess when the military took over. And when they took over, they restructured our minds. Our minds was not like this. It means eventually we need also to create a system that will start restructuring people's minds. To get a man's mind to be restructured is not an overnight issue.
All right, so I've got to interrupt you because I think you've made the essential point, and I want to thank you very, very much. You've made the essential point. There's a lot going on in the mind. I like the word that I've heard said this morning, the psyche. The psyche is continuing to, is just going about his business the way that gentleman is just explaining the military left us. And we've come to start to enjoy it because suddenly commoners are now talking about millions and millions and millions. Before, it used to be a big deal, and it was a lifetime achievement. Nowadays, if you're rightly connected politically, in 2 weeks, you could have God knows how many millions. So the psyche has been adjusted. Gentlemen, I think that's very, very important, and we have very little time, so I'm just going to say maybe just 1 second, 1 minute, maybe just 1 minute. In fact, we don't even have it, 30 seconds to round off.
Well, all I will say is that restructuring, state creation of state police, fiscal federalism, these are all beautiful ideas. And it is not as if we do not need them. We need them. But in needing them, some things have to be put in place.
Indeed.
You know,
Ahmed?
Very simple. Every concept is never perfect from inception. Implement. As you meet challenges, keep fine-tuning it to get the system proper. Don't be scared of moving forward. Life is meant to be moved forward.
The longest journey starts with the first step. Thank you very, very much, Ahmed Dada Abbas and Mr. Ademola Adegoke. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your perspectives with us. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.